telling reporters we have the votes. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, RKY, walks to the chamber after a closeddoor meeting with Republican lawmakers to advance the GOP overhaul of the tax code. Credit AP. Donald Trump took a giant step towards securing the biggest U.S. tax cut in 3 decades last night, winning over the final Republican waverers in the Senate. In what would be the largest change to U.S. tax laws since the 1980s, Republicans want to add $1.4 trillion over 10 years to the $20 trillion national debt to finance changes that they say would further boost an already growing economy. Billed by the president as a coup for middle-income families, it is widely expected to benefit the rich and will slash corporation tax. The 479-page bill passed by 51 votes to 49, giving Mr. Trump the first major legislative achievement of his administration, having failed to fulfill his election pledge to repeal Obamacare. It was a much-needed boost for the president, coming after a day in which he was dragged into the FBI investigation of alleged Russian meddling in the 2016 election after Michael Flynn, his former national security advisor, pleaded guilty to lying to the Bureau and said he would cooperate with the authorities. We are one step closer to delivering massive tax cuts for working families across America. Special thanks to its Senator Majority Mitch McConnell and Chairman Its Orrin Hatch for shepherding our bill through the Senate. Look forward to signing a final bill before Christmas. Pic.twitter.com Mountain E3 SFS, Donald J. Trump at Real Donald Trump December 2, 2017. Despite having a 52-48 seat majority in the Senate, the administration still had to cut deals with a number of Republicans to get the bill through. Right to the end, the debate over the tax bill was mired in chaos as late-arm twisting and deal sweeteners for wavering lawmakers allowed them to push through the legislation. Presiding over the Senate, Vice President Mike Pence announced the vote to applause from Republicans. Senator Bob Corker was the only lawmaker to cross party lines, joining the Democrats in opposition. "Obviously I'm kind of a dinosaur on the fiscal issues," said Mr. Corker, who battled to keep the bill from worsening the government's accumulated $20 trillion in IOUs. The measure focuses its tax reductions on businesses and higher-earning individuals, gives more modest breaks to others, and offers the boldest rewrite of the nation's tax system since 1986. Republicans touted the package as one that would benefit people of all incomes and ignite the economy. Even an official projection of a $1 trillion, 10-year flood of deeper budget deficits couldn't dissuade GOP senators from rallying behind the bill. Senator Susan M. Collins RME.'s original description LR Senator Susan M. Collins RME, Senator Jeff Flake Raz and Senator Luther Strange RAL walked to the Senate floor. Credit Brendan Smaloff's gap concessions were made to key moderates John McCain of Arizona and Susan Collins of Maine. He also managed to mollify fiscal hawks, with the exception of Mr. Corker. Even though a tax reform bill has cleared both the Senate and the House of Representatives, the versions are not identical and a final measure will have to be agreed through a process known as reconciliation. The legislation proposes to slash corporation tax cuts from 35% to 20%, scrap an inheritance tax called the estate tax, and increase the income people can receive tax-free. Mr. Trump has repeatedly framed the tax cut as a win for the middle classes and demanded that it is approved by Congress before Christmas. Donald Trump approval rating tracker. He has also warned that Republican congressmen facing re-election at the midterms next year will struggle if tax reform falls. Update: Senate Republicans are so desperate to pass their tax bill tonight that they're now making handwritten changes to their already handwritten changes. Seriously. Pic.twitter.com Co7 Boyk 1, Senator Dick Durbin at Senator Durbin December 2, 2017. However, independent analysis suggests high earners and corporations are the big winners from the changes, while some analysts have warned that those on lower and middle incomes could find their taxes increase, especially with a number of allowances being scrapped. There have also been concerns about the $1 trillion addition to the U.S. deficit brought by the tax cuts. Democrats were dismayed on Friday night. The federal treasury is being looted tonight, leftist Senator Bernie Sanders roared in the chamber. The Republicans have managed to take a bad bill and make it worse, said Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer. Under the cover of darkness and with the aid of haste, a flurry of last-minute changes will stuff even more money into the pockets of the wealthy and the biggest corporations. No Democrats voted for the bill, but they were unable to block it because Republicans hold the Senate majority. Fear within the Republican Party helped push through the tax cuts. The risk of a backlash from wealthy donors and conservative supporters if the party failed to deliver on another campaign promise ahead of midterm elections next year ultimately helped party leaders get the legislation approved. "I think after failing twice on health care, folks went back home and talked to the real people of America," said Republican Senator John Kennedy. And they were told, look, we sent you up there to fix our problems. Fix them or well find somebody who will. Senator Collins, who helped scuttle Obamacare repeal efforts earlier this year, eventually agreed to vote in favor of the tax bill. Mr. Trump stayed on message. Credit AP photo. Manuel Bales, senator representing voters with the high state tax burden in Maine. Ms. Collins was against her party's plan to end the deduction of state and local property taxes. Under an amendment she pushed, taxpayers would be allowed to deduct up to $10,000 a year. Ms. Collins also said she was assured by Republican leaders that they would take steps soon to mitigate damage caused by the repeal of a fee linked to the Obamacare individual mandate, which requires some Americans to buy health insurance. In contrast to his conduct in the Obamacare debate, Mr. Trump largely stayed on message, proclaiming the tax bill would help the middle class and businesses. Although incorrect, he also claimed it would be the biggest tax cut ever. Mr. Trump met with Republican senators on Capitol Hill for lunch this week, a gathering described as thoughtful and positive. Nobody called anybody names or talked about anybody's Native American heritage, or anything, said Mr. Kennedy, referring to Mr. Trump's habit of picking fights with perceived enemies. The Senate and the House must negotiate a compromise bill, and contentious votes are likely in the weeks ahead. Now, we will move quickly to a conference committee so we can get a final bill to President Trump's desk, House Speaker Paul Ryan said in a statement.